Hey guys, tonight we travel way back to ancient Egypt, where the moon hangs low over the Nile like a lantern swaying gently in the wind, and the air smells of warm earth, baked barley, and river mist. You're walking barefoot along a dusty footpath lined with reeds. Somewhere to your left, frogs croak, like they've had too much to drink. And you can hear the gentle splash of water against a docked papyrus skiff. It's quiet, calm. Not much going on, really, unless you count the suspiciously loud snoring coming from a nearby granary. You're headed to a village not found on any modern map. Let's call it Memphis, not the Elvis one. Just outside its sleepy mud brick walls. You'll find something unexpectedly essential. A small, smoky brewery nestled beside rows of tilled earth, where tomorrow's beer is quietly ripening under moonlight. Of course, you're not just here for a taste. You're here for the full tour. And no, you probably won't survive this if you try drinking the mash straight. Trust me, your 21st century gut is not ready for emmer sludge mixed with fermented fig chunks. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, tell me where you're watching from and what time it is. I love seeing how global this little sleep cult has become. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You pass a goat tied to a fence post. It doesn't move, doesn't blink. Might be asleep, might be a statue. Hard to say. What you do notice, however, is the soft yellow glow from an oil lamp ahead. That's your cue. You've reached the brewery. Except calling it a brewery might be generous. This isn't some industrial hub of copper tanks and yeast consultants. No, this is more like your aunt's backyard, but with more frogs and fewer HOA violations. The structure is made of sun-dried bricks, the roof woven from date palm leaves. You duck inside, careful not to knock over a precarious stack of amphorae filled with leftover brew or possibly laundry water. Again, hard to say inside. The air is warm and faintly sour. You catch the scent of barley mashed like porridge left out in the sun for a day too long. On a woven mat, a woman in a linen shift stirs a pot lazily with a paddle carved from acacia. She doesn't look up. She knows what she's doing. Or at least, she knows how to pretend she does, which is arguably more important in ancient industries. A small child scurries past, holding what might be a beer-soaked bread loaf, or maybe it's just dinner. In Egypt, the line between food and drink is as blurry as the average festival night. You sit in the corner. There's a friendly cat already there, licking what appears to be beer foam off its paw. No one seems concerned. In fact, the cat looks positively experienced. From here, you can see the Nile beyond the back wall black as ink, sluggish, eternal. It rises and falls like the brewer's breath. That river is everything. It floods and leaves behind soil so fertile it can grow 2 crops a year. Barley, emmer wheat, these are the bones of Egyptian beer. And you'll be seeing a lot of them. Now, what is curious is this. Historians still argue whether beer originated with a happy accident or a very sleepy baker. Some say an ancient loaf was left out during a particularly damp spell, fermented naturally, and someone brave or desperate drank the puddle. Others believe beer came first, and bread was the solid cousin no one invited to parties. The debate continues, preferably over drinks. For Egyptians, beer wasn't just beer. It was religion, it was medicine, it was breakfast. You could pay your workers in beer. Offer it to the gods. Give it to children. You'll see all that soon enough. But for now, you sit quietly. You hear the occasional pop of fermentation bubbles in a clay vat. A brewer hums a tune that sounds like it was invented before rhythm. Outside, a breeze picks up, fluttering the palm frond roof and rustling the reeds like they're whispering secrets. And just like that, you're part of it. Part of the late-night stillness of a world long gone but oddly cozy. No phones, no Wi-Fi. Just frogs, beer, and maybe the occasional scorpion underfoot. Don't worry. This one's asleep too. You close your eyes for a moment, breathing in yeast, barley, and the faint tang of Nile water. It's not glamorous. It's not efficient, but it's real. And strangely soothing. You haven't even seen the crops yet. The morning sun creeps over the horizon like an indecisive cat, slow, warm, and a bit too bright for your liking. But no matter. You're already up, rubbing sleep from your eyes as you trudge toward the malting mats, where today's batch of beer truly begins its transformation. The path from the grain fields leads through a narrow alley between two mud brick homes. A goat eyes you with suspicion. You nod politely. He does not nod back. Fair enough. Soon, you arrived at the brewery's open-air workspace. It's a rectangular courtyard with a stone trough at one end, a set of low-drying racks, and large woven reed mats laid out across the dusty ground. Welcome to Egypt, his version of a science lab. Only the lab techs are barefoot grandmothers humming the birds. And the beakers are sun-worn baskets. Today's task, malting the grain. You kneel down beside one of the mats. The barley harvested just days before is now soaking in a stone-lined pit filled with Nile water. It smells faintly like grass clippings and something you can't quite place. Perhaps optimism, or maybe mold. A woman with arms like coiled rope lifts a basket of soaked grain, water dripping through the weave. She spreads the wet kernels across the mat in a thin layer. The sun, ever dutiful, starts drying it immediately. This is step 2 of the ancient beer-making process, germination. As the grain dries in the open air, the enzymes awaken inside each kernel, transforming starch into sugar. This sugar, as you've probably guessed, is what the yeast will snack on later during fermentation. But we're not there yet. For now, you crouch beside the mat and watch ants try to mount a grain like it's a chariot. Now, germination isn't an exact science in 2500 BCE. The process depends on instinct, the sun's mood, and how loudly the local geese are honking that day. There's no stopwatch, no lab coat, just years of tradition and a surprising amount of cat supervision. And here is your quirky tidbit. Some Egyptian brewers would actually sing to the grains while they germinated a blend of lullabies and chants, sometimes to invoke Tauret, the hippo goddess of fertility and protection. Historians aren't entirely sure if the singing made the grain grow better or just helped pass the time. Either way, it beats yelling at yeast. You try humming. A low, droning tune. The grains don't respond, but the cat sitting beside you seems to approve. After a day or two of sprouting, the barley gets raked gently by hand and then spread out again to dry thoroughly. Dried, germinated grain is known as malt, and it's the sacred bridge between raw cereal and beer-worthy mash. You pick up a piece. It's chewy, faintly sweet, and could probably pass as trail mix in a pinch. A curious fact, historians still debate whether the Egyptians roasted their malt over fire or let it sun-dry exclusively. Some records suggest a smoky batch might have been considered fancy reserved for temple offerings or particularly spirited feasts. Others argue smoke ruined the flavor and was only used in emergencies, like when a goose walked through the drying mats. Again, the truth is murky just like the beer. As the malt dries, workers sort it by hand, removing any discolored bits or less charmingly small pebbles. One woman holds up a clump of dirt and mutters something under her breath. You don't catch the words, but the tone suggests the dirt has been a recurring problem. Nearby, someone brings out a fresh mat of emmer wheat, repeating the entire soaking and drying process. You watch the dance continue, baskets dipped, grain spread, songs hummed, and cats ignored. It's repetitive, sure, but also meditative. You feel yourself slipping into the rhythm. Scoop, spread, hum. Scoop, spread, hum. Time slows. The sun inches across the sky like it's taking a lazy stroll. During the midday rest, you re-offered a small gourd filled with something called green beer, an unfinished brew made from partially malted grain and date syrup. It's lukewarm, thick, and tastes like someone dared porridge to become wine. You sip slowly. A brewer raises her eyebrow and asks how you like it. You lie and say it's bold. She laughs. Later in the afternoon, the malt is gathered. Weighed by eyeball, mostly impacting the baskets for the next step, mashing. But that's tomorrow's task. Tonight, the mats are cleaned, the animals are fed, and the sun dips below the palm trees with theatrical slowness. You find yourself lying beside the drying racks, lulled by the breeze and the scent of toasted grain. One brewer walks past, carrying a bundle of reeds. She glances at you and mutters, "Don't forget to thank the sun god. He's the real brewer." You nod solemnly. "And thank Ray, just in case." You close your eyes to the soft crackle of drying malt and the faint burp of distant fermentation. Another day done. The beer is one step closer. Morning arrives slowly in ancient Egypt, not with alarms or rush hour, but with a kind of soft golden shrug. You wake to the sound of a wooden scoop clinking against a clay pot. Outside, the air smells like warm dust, wet grass, and the faintest trace of date syrup. Someone's already at work. You stretch, cautiously avoiding the sharp edge of a discarded brewing paddle, and step out into the soft hush of dawn. Fields stretch ahead of you, flanked by canals shimmering like strips of sky. There, amid the dewy quiet, is your next stop, the grain fields. This is where it all begins. Egyptian beer wouldn't exist without two ancient grains, emmer wheat and barley. These aren't your fluffy, store-bought flours. Emmer is a hardy, ancient wheat with a tough hull that requires a bit of elbow grease to separate. Barley, meanwhile, grows like it's got something to prove stubborn, resilient, and prone to going rogue in windy weather. You trudge into the fields, your feet sinking into the moist earth left behind by the Nile's most recent flood. That annual inundation, known as the Akit, is both curse and blessing. It wipes away everything, boundaries, paths, sandals, and leaves behind soil so rich it practically hums. You crouch down and run your fingers through it. It's dark, dense, and warm, almost like coffee grounds mixed with life. Around you, workers bend over in rows, plucking grains by hand, their linen tunics rustling softly in the breeze. Some sing. Others chat. No one's in a hurry. The harvest is a ritual, a rhythm, a chance to gossip, flirt, or if you read 12 years old, hide behind a sheaf of barley until someone offers you beer as payment for returning. You hear a sharp laugh. A child chases a hoop across the rows. Someone scolds him gently. Just another day in the grain lands. Now, the tools are simple. Curved sickles made from wood with sharpened flint teeth embedded along the edge. Primitive? Sure. Effective? Absolutely. You try one carefully. It's lighter than it looks and surprisingly smooth, like slicing warm bread. You're told to cut low, near the stalk base. Waste not, want not. Once harvested, the grain is bundled into sheaves and carried on heads, shoulders, or the occasional patient donkey to raise storage areas. These granaries are like mini fortresses against pests and thieves, mostly pests. Thieves don't have the patience to eat raw emmer. Here's a fun detail. Historians still argue whether emmer wheat was favored more for brewing or baking. Some claim it gave beer a thicker, richer texture. Others argue barley made for better fermentation and emmer was just a budget-friendly filler. The truth? Like most ancient things, it's a bit of both. You watch a group of women begin threshing, rhythmically striking the grain bundles against stone slabs to release the kernels. Dust rises. Birds hover nearby, hoping for scraps. A goat bleats in the distance, possibly in protest over being left out of breakfast. Once threshed, the grains are winnowed, tossed into the air with wide, flat baskets, so the chaff floats away in the wind. It's oddly mesmerizing. You try it once, and again. Soon, you've lost count of time. The sun climbs higher, but no one's sweating it. Literally, they work under palm-thatched shades, sipping lightly fermented beer in between tasks. Now, this beer isn't meant to knock you flat. It's more like a soupy smoothie, hydrating, nutritious, a little fizzy. Think of it as ancient Gatorade, minus the branding and neon coloring. But not all is peace and barley. You're warned not to venture too close to the Nile's edge during flood season. Not because of bandits, but because of hippos large, unpredictable, and known to chase down boats for fun. You glance over at the riverbank. Yep, That's definitely a hippo yawn. Time to step back slowly. Despite the potential for amphibious chaos, the grain harvest proceeds with a strange serenity. There are no engines, no shouting supervisors, just the rustle of grain, the clink of tools, and the occasional sneeze when the chaff gets too excited. At midday, a break. Workers gather under shade. Someone passes around a beer loaf of spongy, half-baked bread that can be crumbled into water to make a quick brew. It's warm, soft, and faintly sour. You taste a piece. It's not bad if you pretend it's supposed to taste like breakfast in vinegar. A brewer beside you smiles. Good for your stomach, she says, patting her belly, chases away the bad winds. You nod solemnly. You have no idea what that means, but she seems confident. Nearby, a young boy begins to hum a work song, something about barley spirits and sneaky cats. Others join in. It's off-key but charming. You lie back on a woven mat, eyes closed, the sun filtered through palm leaves above you. The ground smells like grain and smoke. You drift for a moment, not asleep, just floating. Later, someone announces it's time to pack the harvest for malting. The grain will be soaked, sprouted, and dried over several days. But that's for tomorrow. Tonight, you rest beside the field. The Nile glows silver in the moonlight. The breeze smells faintly of roasted grain and old gods. And for now, all is calm.